let's talk about our biggest fight we ever got in. And I'm not sure we ever really solved it. So we might get in a fight again about it right now.
What is it?
About me wanting to talk to other girls or whatever.
I thought you were past that.
I am. The last couple of weeks, as you guys know, me and Sutton and the boys were left homeless. We were without a house for a week. If you say to your husband, I don't want to have sex anymore, then I think that's not okay. We're not saying that we're any better because we saved ourselves for marriage and you didn't. But what we will say is that it's never too late to recommit yourself. Came up with a lot of things that I did that started fights, but I couldn't really think of. But I don't really think that's because you didn't do anything wrong. I just think it's because I have a way of forgiving. I really wanted a virgin. I really wanted a woman that was a virgin.
I never even knew it was a thing for guys to pee on the floor until I married you.
When I go to the bathroom, sometimes I may miss.
Their very commonly asked question was, what is a good age to get married? Or like, is this age too young? Is this age too young? My personal answer is there's no such thing as too young. Like, if you're ready and you know that this is the right person for you and you guys are in a good place in your life, you know, with money and stuff, and you feel like you're able to start your family, then why the heck not?
You think even if they're like 18?
My grandparents got married at 13 and they were together their whole lives.
People tell you like, oh, your first year of marriage is gonna be hard or whatever. But there were some moments that I was like, whoa, like I thought we had things together.
Hello and welcome to Unreligiously. My name is Lauren and today we are going to be diving into Nate and Sutton. This is a Christian content creator couple who mirrors almost exactly Paul and Morgan. So if you guys have ever watched one of my Paul and Morgan videos before, you are going to be saying, what the fuck, basically this entire video, because there are so many similarities. To be honest with you guys, even the way they look, their cadence, the way that they talk, all of it is exactly the same. It's just like Nate and Sutton are kind of like preppier Christians on steroids. So this video today is going to be long and I definitely want to just take the time to jump right into it. But before we do, I want to give you guys a quick disclaimer that of course, any criticism is just my own personal opinion here about Nate and Sutton. We are going to be looking at this from an exvangelical Christian point of view. And please keep the conversation in the comments here. Please don't take any sort of negative conversations or comments over to Nate and Sutton's page. Thank you guys for watching. Please like my video, and if you want to leave a comment but you don't know what to say, you can always leave a bird to support. But for now, let's just dive right into it and get into our first clip. Who are Nate and Sutton?
Welcome to our channel. We are a husband and wife. We are super excited to kick this channel off with our very first vlog.
The past 2.5 years that we've been married.
It's a very exciting time in our lives right now. We just bought this house. We're 2 years into our marriage, 2.5 years, and most excitedly, we have a little one on the way.
Yeah, we have a little boy due in January.
Look at that. We're in a very excited time in our lives. We own our own business together. We film weddings for a living. We started a wedding videography and photography company.
Those are excerpts from Nate and Sutton's very first video. Already in this first video, as you can see, they had been married for a little bit of time. Sutton was already pregnant and they co-owned a photography business together, which was hugely successful and was a 6-figure-a-year business. Nate and Sutton, I don't know fully their financial situation, if all of it came from the photography or later the real estate investing that Nate did, but they seem to be rolling in it. They live in wealth, they live very nicely, and it seems like they've been able to build this wealth from a young age together. But Nate and Sutton did also grow up Christian, and Sutton shares a little bit more of her testimony here.
This will touch somebody and relate to somebody. But yeah, I'll just kind of start at the beginning. So I grew up in a Christian home. There's not a time in my life I remember not being a believer in Jesus. My parents taught me and my sisters from a young age, and we did family Bible studies together. I watched my parents do small groups with their friends. We went to church every Sunday. Officially gave my life to Jesus standing in my grandmother's living room. It was 1999 and it was New Year's Eve at night. So, it wasn't midnight yet, but my dad, he wanted to do it for a day for us that we would remember. And so we did it on that day. Me and my sisters all together, we prayed the salvation prayer and asked Jesus into our hearts, the commitment to follow Jesus, and I pretty much lived my life that way. Kept going to church, and then I would say that my first personal experience with Jesus, when I felt like my faith became my own, was around 7th grade. I went on a church retreat to the beach with my church, and we were at the service and they were playing music and stuff, and all of a sudden it starts pouring down rain and the roof starts to leak in the room that we're in. And so the worship leaders are like, wow, the enemy really sees something good happening here and he's wanting to stop it, so we're not going to stop. Like, let's just keep going, even though some people were getting wet.
This is something that is really common when you grow up in the church. When you go to church camps, oftentimes you are going to leave on what they call a spiritual high, or a Bible camp high, Bible retreat high. And basically what it is you're surrounded for a week with people who are in love with Jesus and on fire for God. You're reading your Bible, you're praying, you're really doing a lot of soul searching, and you're also sleep deprived, way more active, eating less and probably healthier than you normally would, and you're sharing way more than you normally would with people that you don't know that well. And so it's a very vulnerable time as well, and it is a time that is manufactured to almost create some kind of a spiritual experience, and we'll get into that more in another video. We could go on for days about Bible camp. That being said, it doesn't surprise me. She grew up in a Christian home and then went to this camp and had a spiritual experience where she really did make it her own. And this concept of making it your own is when you grow up in a Christian home, and it's when you reach that point of truly understanding the religion and then recognizing, oh, like, I have to take a really active role in this. I need to do X, Y, Z. I need to form my own personal relationship with Jesus. Even if you may have grown up always saying that you love Jesus and that you're a Christian, you reach an age where it kind of clicks for you what it's all about, and you realize, oh, I guess I have to say this prayer. And so that's kind of what she's talking about there. But the spiritual high is something that's really, really common, but you can tell that for her, this is a very real, vivid spiritual memory for her.
The floor is getting all wet. Then the power goes out. And so, they're playing music. So we need electricity. We need the lights. Pitch darkness. Everything goes quiet. And they said it again. They're like, wow, something good must really be happening here, because the enemy's trying so hard to make this not happen. It was so cool. When you experience the presence of God, especially for the first time, it's very overwhelming. I was crying, everyone was crying. We went in the ocean and got baptized, and it was just really, really cool. A really cool moment. Went to college a little bit in high school. I kind of not fell away, but definitely wasn't living up to my potential of what I could be doing for God and making him proud of me and happy with me. I look back on things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Or why did I do that? Just young dumb decisions that obviously now I would not make those same choices. As the truth, which is that God is not keeping good things from you. He's protecting you from bad things and preparing you for better things. Just take sex before marriage as an example. He's not trying to keep a good thing from you by saying don't have sex before marriage. He's trying to prepare you for a great thing. Sex within marriage, the way he intended it to be, is so much better than the way it's not intended to be.
There's a lot to unpack in all of this. We've talked already in her testimony about growing up Christian, her dad kind of setting this date for them to commit their lives to Christ, and then her later on in the 7th grade choosing to once again rededicate her life to Christ. In high school and college, she said she never really fell away, although she would, looking back, live differently. It's interesting to me because I don't really know what she could possibly be talking about, but she doesn't share much there, so we just kind of have to leave that one up to our imagination. What stands out to me is that she also does mention that Satan must have really not wanted them to continue in their worship playing. And this is something that she mentions happening, when she was in the 7th grade. And it's a sentiment that they repeat throughout this entire video and all of their videos. This idea that there is a spiritual battle going on directly influencing them, directly attacking them, that there are beings who directly want to harm them and are actively plotting against them in their lives. That is something that we see throughout. So keep your eye out for that. In the next video, Nathaniel shares some of his testimony along with their love story, which I have to admit really did rub me the wrong way, and is the video that I landed on that made me go, yeah, I'm gonna have to make a video on these guys.
A little boy named Nathaniel, and he desired to meet a beautiful Christian woman. I really wanted a virgin. I really wanted a woman that was a virgin and beautiful and a Christian. I was on the dating app Tinder, and I am not necessarily too proud of that.
Right off the bat, Nate makes it clear that he wanted a virgin to marry. And listen, there's a place in my mind where I think, yes, if you have saved yourself for marriage, you may really, really want to find someone who values sex in a similar way. But most Christians, in reality, at least growing up, the Christians that I've seen, the evangelicals, even in Paul and Morgan, when Paul answered this question of was virginity something that he was looking for, and he said no, it wasn't, and that virginity was not it is a nice quality for them to have, that they've chosen to save that. But Paul even said he was much more concerned about where Morgan was at about those topics in that moment, how she felt about them in that day, and that it's not a problem in their current marriage for them. He has said stuff about her having premarital sex that I still don't like, that I still think is demeaning. But even Paul of Paul and Morgan has a better opinion on this. Again, I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with wanting somebody that values sex in the same way that you do, or wanting to marry a virgin in general as part of a religious value, but that's really the only character trait that he lists. He wants a Christian, virgin, beautiful woman. Not a whole lot of substance there. And to me, that does rub me the wrong way, because it to me goes between, is this a personal preference and something where you really want to align in values, or are you fetishizing virginity and purity and this sort of childlike innocence? Because if that's what it is, that doesn't sit right with me, and that is a little bit to me what he's doing here. But I will say, at least in this circumstance, he was also a virgin when they got married, so at least he's not holding her to a standard that she didn't hold herself to. But right off the bat, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it would really upset me if I had a partner speak about me in that way. Even if they were saying, yeah, she's so pure, I'm the only one she's ever been with. Even if they were saying that, that's nobody else's business. Why are you... It's not like you stuck a flag in me and claimed me as your own. I don't know. What do you guys think? You'll have to let me know, but I'll let him continue here and say it in his own words. But it really does just rub me the wrong way, even from the Christian perspective.
But yeah, but I don't think I really used it how most people use it. I genuinely just wanted to meet someone. I was in bed and I was praying to God, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I am done trying to hunt out the girl that I'm supposed to marry, the girl that I'm supposed to be with. I wake up with a notification on my phone from her sister. Her sister was on Tinder, and we were a match. Her sister messaged me and said, this is gonna be the weirdest message you ever get, but you have to meet my sister. I looked her up and I was like, whoa, this girl is beauty. Hey Sutton, not sure if you're aware or not, but your sister told me to friend you. It was so weird because I felt like when I saw her, I was like, I have a feeling this girl's a virgin. And I don't know what
in the pictures, right? Not in real life.
Yeah, in the pictures. I just had this feeling, and I asked her, and she told me she was, and then I told her I was.
First conversation, we jumped right into that.
One
date a week. That was it.
Yeah,
it was the longest, and no really talking. We didn't really talk throughout the week. And then we had one date on the weekends, and that was it. By our third date, so this is only like the third week we've known each other, I think I could confidently say, like, I think I'm gonna marry this guy.
I was driving her car home from our date, and I said to her, I said, do you want to see what it feels like to hold my hand? And then from there, our first kiss, we were at we made a fire at my parents' house, and this was what, like our fourth date?
Mm-hmm. Meeting on Tinder. I know he met her sister on Tinder, not her, but meeting on Tinder seems odd to me for somebody that was allegedly at his wit's end with dating and finding a spouse. That doesn't seem like the place you go if you're obsessed with finding a virgin. And then for him to say that he looked at the pictures and he had a feeling that she was a virgin, I don't really know what to say about that. It also weirds me out that she follows it up with being like, no, just from the pictures, not from me in person, right? Like, what does it mean that if he got the vibe that you were a virgin based off of your pictures versus you in person? What's the difference? What's the difference there, Sutton? I'm just trying to clarify. The whole thing rubs me the wrong way. I don't like how he keeps bringing this up and bringing up virginity. And even when he says, I saw her pictures and she was beauty, it just, the way that he says it is a little bit objectifying to me. Like, it seems like he's a little possessive over her, or like she's an item. And I'm not saying in any context that saying that, you know, your wife is beautiful is going to be objectifying. Of course not. But for some reason, the way that he's doing it, the things that he chooses to emphasize, and the way that he chooses to talk about this stuff really does not sit with me well. But that's enough of their background. You can see that both Nate and Sutton did grow up Christian. They met in this Christian way. They talked about their virginity very early on, which is an interesting choice, but is also something that is generally encouraged in Christian culture. But now it's time for us to move on. We've got a lot to cover, so let's talk about their early marriage, because as soon as they started their channel, they were already in that early marriage phase, and so now we need to talk a little bit about what their marriage actually looked like.
People tell you, like, oh, your first year of marriage is gonna be hard or whatever. But there were some moments that I was like, whoa. Like, I thought we had things together, you know? Like, I thought we had this thing down. What's going on here? I was like, she crazy.
There's nothing quite like the continued trope of Christians getting married young and then hating being married to each other, but using phrases like marriage is meant to make you holy, not happy, or basically trying to say that marriage is meant to make you grow spiritually and refine you through fire, through the troubles, rather than being there to just make you happy and live a happy life. It's actually there to sharpen you, strengthen you, turn you to God, which I personally don't want. I would like a marriage that makes life easier for both of us. I don't know if that's too much to ask, but I don't necessarily need that to be what refines me. I think life does enough refining on its own. But something that was an early mistake and an early video of theirs is about Sutton's birthday. And to me, this really does outline how Sutton is not taken care of in the same way that she takes care of the others around her. They talk about previous birthday experiences and how she was let down, and then they continue to go do basically the same thing for this birthday, and you'll see it for yourself. It seems like no matter what they do in these types of videos, the women always have to appear thankful and meek and grateful, and they can't ever say their real opinions, or the husbands will make them feel ungrateful. And Sutton has said that Nate is somebody that holds grudges for days. If they get upset, it's not like he can just move on and have a nice day because it's your birthday.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to my wife, the mother of my child, and Sutton. Happy birthday to you.
Look, Levi's happy about it too. Hey, buddy. 27.
All right. Today is known as Redemption Birthday Day for Sutton. Why is that, Sutton?
Why don't you tell why that is?
Well, the last 2 years, Sutton's birthday haven't been the best.
No. We've been married this is my third birthday we've been married. We dated for only one of my birthdays, and the one we were dating, it was like probably one of the best birthdays I've ever had. We went whitewater rafting. He took me to my favorite restaurant. It was a great day, But then the ones being married, it's funny how it was such a big deal at the time, but now I don't really remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think what happened was we got in a fight about something the day before your birthday last year, right? And then we woke up. I have this thing where it takes me a little while to get over anger.
By a little while, he means at least 24 hours or more.
That's the key word. I understand that everyone has their own struggles, but this to me feels like emotional immaturity. If you can't have minor issues and get up in the morning and still put on a happy face for somebody's birthday, it just is kind of, it feels like narcissistic a little bit, like the day has to be about you. If you're not in a good mood, then nobody gets to have a good day, nobody gets to be in a good mood, and that's a little bit unfortunate. It also feels like you have had these fights more than once before big events for Sutton, and that starts to feel like a pattern for the viewers. People definitely point this out, that Sutton deserves to have her day celebrated even if there was some kind of an argument the day before. Again, these are all minor arguments. These aren't over hard topics, difficult topics to recover from.
So I woke up on her birthday not in the greatest of moods, and I tried to, play it off, but I guess she could sense,
He cannot play it off.
She could sense when it's something there. So that whole day, I tried to do something that I thought she liked. I wanted to go to the pool, but we went to the pool and it was closed.
That was the key right there. I wanted to go to the pool. That's what you just said.
But you love the pool. You love the pool.
All I asked for my birthday is to do something that we never do. Just something we don't do on a regular basis. And then I wanted to eat at Mellow Mushroom, which we do that once a week. But it's my favorite place. So that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to putt-putt. So, I mean, come on, how hard is that? But instead we went to the pool, which we also did the year before that I didn't like. He did it again.
So keep that in mind. For 2 years in a row, they went to the pool, which she doesn't want to do. She doesn't want to swim for her birthday because he loves to swim and they go swimming all the time. So I wonder what he's going to possibly take her to do for this birthday, since he fucked it up 2 years in a row in the exact same way. It would already feel like the second year has to be intentional, but for the third year, there's no way, right?
The next year, so.
So lesson learned, do not go to the pool today. We are not going to the pool.
But he didn't tell me to bring my bathing suit, so I was like, oh gosh, we're going to the pool.
I have to make her think we're going to the pool. Anyway, what's kind of crazy is last year on your birthday, I think it was probably the worst fight we've ever gotten in our whole relationship.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, it's good so far. I don't know if you can see on how pretty this day is, but there's not a cloud in the sky.
That means it's a good day for the pool. All right, we have made it to destination 2 of the birthday adventures. This beautiful swimming hole that my bro right there and his girlfriend right there, Emerald, introduced us to. So we just got done playing some tennis, and unfortunately I lost.
That's right. For Sutton's birthday, Nate took her swimming for the third year in a row with his brother and future sister-in-law. The third year in a row. It genuinely breaks my heart to see people like Morgan and like Sutton who just keep taking it, and because it wasn't a pool this time, it was a water hole, she acts like it's fine and she's grateful, and she's also grateful for the fast food Italian, which is her favorite restaurant. I personally also tell people frequently that McDonald's is my favorite restaurant. It probably is my favorite restaurant for a daily basis. I don't eat there on a daily basis, but like for the average moment, McDonald's is gonna have something I want. But for my birthday, I'm still gonna wanna go to probably like a restaurant. I'm not a fancy person, you guys. I'm not saying that they need to go drop $500, but it would be nice to see Nate put a little thought into this. And if I were her, I would be hurt. Something that I hear frequently from Christian young women is that once they get married, the effort stops. The husband might have, like Sutton, given them a great birthday during their short dating period of under a year, and then for the next birthday, they were married, and because they were married, the husband didn't feel like he needed to put in the same amount of effort anymore. And when she was upset, then he becomes upset. And then she just feels selfish or is told that she's supposed to learn to manage her own expectations. And I think that that is really sad.
Or we lost. But hey, we have an excuse now because Sutton's 6 months pregnant. She's not, she's not really able to move like she once was, but man, we are loving this swimming hole. Check this out.
Officially, my best birthday. This is all I needed.
Wow. Did you
All
hear
you
that?
had to do was take me to Fazoli's.
Wow, look at this. Fazoli's.
For those who don't know, this is fast food Italian, and this is my favorite place in the whole world. And they are nowhere near where we live anymore. So are we in Tennessee?
I think we just crossed the Georgia border.
Okay, well, we drove to Tennessee, and now we're at Fazoli's.
The other thing that stood out to me after watching these videos a few times is that it doesn't seem like the safest place to take your wife who's 6 months pregnant. You've got a rocky beach with a rocky bottom that goes very deep and a waterfall, cold water, fresh water. It's just slippery, and it feels like if I was 6 months pregnant, I probably wouldn't want to go there, just to be careful, just to not slip and fall and potentially hurt myself or the baby. To me, that already feels dangerous, but I've never been pregnant before. I'm not a mother, so I'll let you mothers or pregnant people out there tell me what is kind of going on there. But for me, I don't think that I would probably want to go there if I was 6 months pregnant, especially not in a bikini with my extended family. It's these constant little put downs that start to form an opinion for me of how he might actually feel about his wife. It's things like intentionally doing the same thing for her birthday 3 years in a row when she's already told you that she doesn't want to do that.
Our first year of marriage together was super unique in the sense that we started our own business together, Wedflix, as many of you have heard about, which is kind of crazy because we were spending, and still do spend, all day, every day together.
It's funny to think how most couples, they're going to work, so they're getting a break from each other all day, so they're like excited to see each other or something when they come home, but we are like with each other all the time.
Yeah, and I love it. Do you love it?
I love it too. I don't think we were either of us were very cut out for us to be going to work at a different place.
I know. I tell this to Sutton, like, I get sad when she leaves.
It was hard for me to believe from the beginning that this would be a good setup for them, that working together and full-time would be healthy, especially with the power dynamic between them. It's clear that he is the leader, and to run a business, you need to be able to make some decisions. It would almost feel like Sutton was his employee, even though they equally run and own the business.
Speaking of spending all day together, every day, I think that probably has resulted in some of our fighting, which I think is what all you guys want to hear. Came up with a lot of things that I did that started fights, but I couldn't really think of. But I don't really think that's because you didn't do anything wrong. I just think it's because I have a way of forgiving, and you like to keep a record book of everything that I ever did.
They were a big deal to me. Like a lot of these things, they were a big deal.
All right, so let's talk about all the things that I did that caused fights.
You notice this minimization that he does where he tries to make a joke, but it doesn't really feel like a joke, that she just holds on to more. And then she tries to defend herself saying, these were actually really hurtful to me. And at first you think, well, I guess either one of them could be right depending on what the issues are. But as they start to detail the biggest fights that they've had, it's hard not to feel like Nate is not just a giant red flag.
Actually, it happens to this day. It still happens. But something we get in a fight about is like Facebook and Instagram. Just how we talked about on previous videos, how you just can't get away from inappropriate pictures, and he is friends with all these people on Facebook that he doesn't actually know who they are, because he went through a time in his life where he's just like friend requesting the world, and they would post things like really bad things, like completely naked, and he would have to tell me like, can you take this person off my Facebook?
And I didn't accept these friend requests knowing these people did this. It was just like I thought they were like a normal person, and then they'd post nude pictures later.
I feel bad for Sutton that she genuinely believes that he didn't know that any of these women that he requested, the, up to 10,000 friends you can have or whatever it is, that he didn't know that they were posting porn on the internet. He definitely knew. He definitely still knows, and he just doesn't care. And obviously I can't know that personally, but I look at her and even his facial expressions, I look back and I just remember it's like, girl, he's not just like a really friendly guy who wants to be friends with everyone, and that's really what you're settling on. I'm not blaming her. It genuinely makes me sick. I don't know what's going on with Nate behind the scenes, but I'll just let him continue to dig his own hole here.
Similarly, on that same note, I think a lot of fights that we got in was things on TV, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be watching a show and you just don't know that something crazy is going to pop up. But I turn away as quick as I can, but sometimes it's not fast enough for her. There was times she would call me ding dong or a brat, and I would get so mad about it because no one growing up, like my family, we never called each other names like that playing around. It always, like, if you were called a name, it meant that you were like in a fight.
But it was always in a joking way.
Sutton explains that she would say things like, don't be a brat, or don't be such a dingus during a laugh, in the middle of a laugh, or something like that, and that would really hurt his feelings, and they would have to talk about her disrespect to her husband later. She ultimately took this seriously because it's his feelings, and that is very, it's coming, I think, from probably like an emotionally mature and well-meaning place. But he also should, it's hard because yes, like if it hurts your partner, don't do it. But at the same time, Nate says such worse things constantly, and it feels like this is not really about his feelings being hurt, but it's just another way for him to assert dominance, make sure that he's in control, and make sure that nothing that she ever says can wound his ego in any way.
Sutton, one time, she would get really mad at me, and she just like left the apartment without telling me where she was going. And I really don't like that. Like, I told her, I do not want you leaving without telling me where you're going.
I was like going to take Levi on a walk, like I brought him with
But I don't know that. I thought you could have been leaving me and never coming back. Yeah, so, it's fine that she would leave, but I just don't want her leaving and not telling me she's coming back. That's how I am. I just choose not to hold on to these things so I can live in peace.
Don't normalize having to tell your partner if you're going on a walk with the child. I just, again, it's like, is this really about that? It's like, if this was the one issue, right? If this really was triggering to him for some reason, he genuinely felt like she might have been leaving him permanently and taking the child in that moment, then okay, they can talk about it, whatever. But it's like any minor wrong, any minor perceived disrespectful action that she takes, any action that's not fully about Nate, he seems to take an issue with and bring up. And once again, he ends his complaint about her. He has just as many about her as she has about him, but he still ends it by saying, but you're the one that likes to hold on to these things. And I think that's just because objectively he knows that the audience is going to watch this, and obviously his wrongs are bigger, are more serious, and would appear to be ongoing.
It's true. I don't keep record of wrongs. So let's talk about our biggest fight we ever got in. And I'm not sure we ever really solved it. So we might get in a fight again about it right now.
What is it?
About me wanting to talk to other girls or whatever.
I thought you were past that.
I am.
Nathaniel told me that he has the desire to talk to other girls. And that really hurt my feelings. Because I was like, why? It just made me think, like, why am I not enough, for you? Because for me, it was like I didn't need to talk to or catch up with or find out what's going on with any of my old guy friends, because it's like, I just feel like when you're in a relationship, there are no guy friends for me. There are no girlfriends for her. Like, we can have couple friends together, but it's not like I have my guy friends and he has his girlfriends and, like, we don't know those people. But the people that he was wanting to catch up with or, like, know what was going on with them, I didn't know them.
I think it's completely reasonable to want to know who your spouse's friends are, especially if they're people that they're catching up with regularly. I, of course, have male friends. My fiance, of course, has female friends, and none of them are going to be new names on the phone. If I look at his phone and I see he's texting someone, I know who she is. He knows who the people are. They've met them. They're friends too. And what he's describing here of just messaging random girls on the internet who he tells her she'll likely never meet is weird to me, because to me it tells me that they're not really friends and he is just going out and making new female relationships. If Sutton was my little sister, I would tell her he is obviously cheating on you emotionally at a minimum, no matter how godly he says he is, and this is going to continue. You should be concerned. And the minimization, the smiling, it seems like he's genuinely getting joy out of this situation and out of her concerns. And watch how he tries to minimize it and act like it's not a big deal.
Understand what I was saying. It's not like I want to go go on dates with other girls or flirt with other girls. A girl had messaged me that I knew from my past, and I asked her what was going on with her, and she's like, why do you care what's going on with her? And I was just like, well, I just have an interest in talking to other human beings. That's what I meant by it, is that I have an interest in talking to other people, not like talking to girls specifically.
But that's what you said though.
Yeah, but then I clarified to you what I meant by that.
But I'm still holding on to the first statement.
Yeah, see?
This was a glance at some of the early marital problems, and now we're going to get into their parenting, because as you saw, Sutton was pregnant basically from the jump of the channel. So parenting is a big part of their content, where a lot of the controversy lies and a lot of their conflict between themselves. We are also going to get into some marital conflict later on, but for now, let's talk about the parenting.
Basically, not putting your kids before your spouse, which I will tell you, this whole video is preaching to us too, because we fall short of this for sure a lot.
Right off the bat, Nate and Sutton talk about their values with parenting, and to me, they're kind of controversial.
And I just feel like kids in this stage of life that we're in right now are so consuming in the best way, but they are so consuming. Literally last night we're in the car and Nathaniel's trying to talk to me, and Oakland like borderline starts crying and is like, don't talk to mama, I'm talking to mama.
I know, because we do this thing that anytime we're talking and they interrupt us, we say, boys, I'm talking to mama, wait your turn. But now he's starting to flip it on me. He's like, Daddy, don't talk to mama when I'm talking to her.
You made your vows to your partner, not to your kids.
Sure, you made your vows to your spouse, not your kids, but the reality is you didn't create your spouse. You didn't bring them into the world, and it's really not your responsibility to care for them in the same way that it would be for a child. And so a lot of this is weird to me, and once again goes back into this hierarchy, this idea of the man wanting to be almost like the full attention being on them. They don't want children to impact their sex life at all, which is just not, usually realistic, especially if they're not helping around the house. And I don't know, they just expect a lot, but I'll let them talk for themselves.
One of the best things you can do for your kids is to love each other. Show each other that you love one another. What kid doesn't love to see that their parents love each other? Some people might have different personal preferences out there, but one thing that me and Sutton have talked about is that we want our kids to see us be affectionate regularly. We want them to see us like holding hands or hugging or kissing, just so it's like not even weird.
Our family started with us. Like we were the start of it. We're the foundation too, and so everything should be built on top of that.
Why do you have to be intimate in front of your children to make it not even weird later on? Why can't you just not do it around them at all? I understand if you want to hold hands or kiss occasionally, but you don't need to be making out in front of your kids. And like Nate will comment on later, you also don't need to make having sex at home obvious while the kids are home. It's disgusting and abusive. I really don't like Sutton's idea of basically being like, you made your commitments to your husband, not your children. I think that you make a greater commitment to your children by bringing them into this world, period. And I think that to view it any other way is really, frankly, disgusting. It lacks maternal instinct, and frankly I would have to be concerned that Sutton is just following his lead here, because as Nate and Sutton continue to talk, it would seem like a lot of this and the discipline is pushed by Nate because he just doesn't necessarily love being a dad in the same way that Sutton loves being a mom.
He's a full-timer. First 3 months of what it's been like for us to be parents, it's been a whole new world. I'm a dad and she's a mom.
I went into labor at night, called the doctor. They were like, oh, just go to sleep. Okay, so we go to sleep, which I didn't think we'd be able to do that, but we did it. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, still having contractions. Called the doctor. They told us to come in, so we did. They told us to go home, so we did. Kept having more contractions.
So she was having like these Braxton Hicks, like little mini contractions. She's like, I might be in labor, I don't know. But then when she really went into labor, I think you knew that
there was no denying.
Yeah, no denying. When that thing hit, just tears were flowing. I was so ready to get out of the hospital. It was miserable being in there.
It's just a lot of talking and for somebody who didn't give birth. It was miserable in there. I couldn't wait to get back home. Where's the concern for Sutton? Where's the concern for your newborn child? Where's the I was excited to bring them home and start our new life? None of that. It's just about him. And I want to point this out to you guys, not to come down hard on Nathaniel, whatever, not to come down on Nate too hard, but to really point out his attitude here so that you can see it in comparison to Sutton's, because I think that Sutton actually seems like a good mother, and Nate is somebody who almost like encourages her to do less and be worse.
That first week was, you know, people say, oh, the first week, the first month is going to be hard, but it was, for me, it was really difficult. And the hardest part of being a parent for that first week was the crying. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if it's like this for a lot of guys, but for me, I really struggle with the crying noise. When you are sleep deprived and that baby is crying in your eardrum at 3 a.m. in the morning, it gets to be a challenge. It's really hard, and we had some issues with him latching on and not breastfeeding, so he was hungry all the time, and it was just not good.
It makes me ask myself, what do people think is going to happen when they have a baby? Because I would assume that most people would plan for there to be a period of them being sleep deprived, a little bit miserable, and for a lot of crying. Babies cry, and no, it's not a dad thing to be irritated about it. The aggressive little, oh my god, that he did about the crying just gave me like a immediate fear that he's gonna shake one of their babies. And genuinely, if I were Sutton, I don't know if I would leave him home alone with the kids, especially after some of the clips that I'll show you in the future, but especially after this next clip where it's clear that he wants to start disciplining their son Oakland, who is only at this point like 4 months old.
Oakland's kind of getting in the stage where he starts crying because I think he knows when he cries someone will come pick him up. So how do you find that balance of picking him up and showing him attention when he's crying, but also not catering and rewarding that behavior? One of my biggest pet peeves is rewarding bad behavior. So when he gets older, we can talk to him, but how, in the meantime, how do we...
In the meantime, he cries and I go get him.
So, what do we do?
This is clearly that just them setting up to want to spank their kids and spank Oakland before they can talk. I feel like he's clearly saying here, before you can get words across, how do you discipline them? Before you can reason with a child, how do you show them the right way? And to me, that sounds like him and Sutton have had conversations about disciplining, like spare the rod, spoil the child, where he would call it, you know, rewarding him for bad behavior, when really a baby crying to get held is not bad behavior, it's just how they communicate. But this would be upsetting to me, and I did do more research and find out that they are pro spanking and are about that life, but it seems like that video may have been taken down because I can only find little clips of it and a ton of posts referencing it, but it would seem like it's taken down now. So that video is what I could find still up on their YouTube channel, and I will say that that alone disturbs me. If you look at how young that baby is in that video, that's a baby that can't even walk yet. That's a baby that should be crying to get picked up. And what did you expect when you became a father? At the very least, I wouldn't choose to have another child with somebody like Nate.
My biggest challenge, I would say, my biggest fault and weakness with being a parent is when the crying starts coming. Whoo-wee! I don't know what it is, but man, I just feel like sometimes babies just need to cry it out. Like when I've done everything I can for him, when he's well fed, his diaper's changed, and he's had his toys and everything, and if he's still crying, if this guy's still crying at that point, I feel like he just needs to cry it out. And Sutton doesn't like that. And I can understand, you know, the motherly nurture part of moms, I think, wants to, what's the right word? He's looking at me. They want to comfort them. They want to comfort them.
This is a baby who cannot fully stand up on its own yet, and clearly can't walk, can't stand on its own, and already he's acting like Sutton is coddling it, that Sutton is trying to comfort the child and that is therefore coddling. And that would be really upsetting to me if I were a new mother. He's trying to make her feel like she's basically engaging in what Christians today call toxic empathy, that they are leading with empathy in a way that's actually not Christ-like because they are allowing people to continue in their sinful behavior. So if Sutton continues to pick up their son, then Nate can point and say, you're spoiling him, you're continuing to allow him to cry to be picked up. The reality is that your kid is just going to grow out of this at a normal age, and he's home alone watching the baby for 24 hours while Sutton is out doing a photo shoot. So what do we think the rest of the day is going to be like? I can't also stand him talking about the crying. The baby crying and how much that grates on him and infuriates him, especially because they have an easy baby. You know, per se, the baby, when it was 3 months old, started sleeping through the night fully and is on a good nap schedule and, like, doesn't have colic. So the baby's not just, like, scream crying all the time for no reason. For him to be so upset and enraged by it and to continually be bringing it up again, it just makes me concerned that he is going to shake a baby. I'm not saying that to be upsetting to him or anyone else, but just as a woman, this to me would be a huge red flag from a partner, especially when he does, he goes, ugh, like the last time, and you can see in his eyes that there is a little bit of like aggression behind that. And this time when he does this ooh wee, the like wee at the end, you can tell it's like actually aggressive and piercing, and like he's doing that while he's holding the child, which would be jarring for the child. And it just,
When the crying starts coming, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
But to me, it gives this like pent up anger. Let me know if you guys think that I'm reading too much into it. Obviously, all of this is just my personal opinion, but it does really concern me for the safety of the child and their future children.
But me, I'm just like, hey, if you're gonna cry, if you just really need to cry, then I think you need to cry, and I don't necessarily need to be a part of that. So I think today's gonna be an easy breezy as long as he doesn't start getting in one of his moods. So we'll see. If he stays cool and just, doesn't cry uncontrollably, I think it'll be an easy day. But if he starts doing that crying thing, I might have a little challenge.
So right when I pull up here, Nathaniel texts me and says, just so you know, I'm feeling dizzy, so if you don't hear from me, that's why. Like, trying to make me think he's gonna pass out or something. Well, he's on Oakland duty. I'm like, okay, well, that's a great way to make me worry. So that's how our day's starting.
This is just one more example of Nate ruining an event of Sutton's. She is getting out, did her hair and makeup, is out working this event finally, being postpartum, and immediately he's texting her, acting as if he's going to pass out while in the care of their newborn infant. It's weaponized incompetence, it's disgusting, and it's very bad fatherhood. And if you think that the problems stop with him threatening to pass out and stop communicating with her while she's gone, you'd be wrong. It gets worse.
It's nappy time. This is one of my favorite times of day, putting him down to sleep and waking him up just because he's so cute in his little crib. Hey, Oogie, look here. Hey, right here. Time to go night-night. He gets so excited for naps.
He does not get so excited for naps. You are hyping him up, which is going to prevent him from napping. Genuinely, when I watched this for the first time as somebody that has never had a child, I still watched this and was going, why is he making the baby laugh and get hyped up and like in this energetic state right before they go to bed? Because they've already made it clear that he doesn't believe in crying or listening to them cry. He believes in letting them cry it out. So when this baby, when he leaves, it is going to cry, and he is just going to sit downstairs and listen to it. I already knew this before I watched the video because Nate has already shown who he is as a father this early on, only a few months into Oakland's life.
First problem, I put Oakland down to sleep about 30 minutes ago and he's still not sleeping, which is not good because if he doesn't nap, that means he's going to be very upset later. And I forgot to change his diaper before I put him to sleep, so. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but basically Oakland is crying and he's not sleeping, which is not good for me.
Even at the daycare that I worked at when I worked in the infant room, all of the babies slept in a crib, right? There was like this room, there's cribs lining the walls. Every baby has their assigned crib that they go into every day for their naps. And at some point, a lot of times, one of them, multiple of them will wake up during their nap and they'll cry. And sometimes you can go and you just need to do nothing, right? Sometimes you can do nothing and you can sit there and they'll just go back to sleep. But if they cry for longer than 30 seconds, you need to go back in and either put their Nook back in, their pacifier, I guess it's called in other areas of the US. We just call it a Nookie. Like the NUK, I think, is a brand. It's like the Kleenex thing. It's the tissue, not the clean, whatever. You put their pacifier back in, or you pat their butt a little bit, or just show them your presence, that there's somebody else in the room, and they'll fall back asleep, okay? What he's not doing is any of that. He's just sitting downstairs and letting the baby get more and more and more worked up. And babies will not necessarily just cry themselves out, especially if there's a problem, if they're afraid, if their diaper's dirty, if they're hungry, if whatever it may be. They're not just going to give up after 5 minutes and go to sleep. So he might, he'd be fine to set a, 5-minute, 10-minute timer, especially if he's getting overwhelmed or is feeling that aggression or feels like he maybe can't safely be in the same room with the crying baby. Then absolutely leave the crying baby. It's not going to perish in the crib. But you should, in general, a good parent would go in and check on them, rock them a little bit more, see if they want a little bit more of their bottle, whatever it might be. This is a very young infant, you guys. This is not an infant that can even roll on its own. It needs parents there. It's not used to being out alone. It's not, it's barely even been outside of the womb for more than a few months. But he doesn't do any of that. He just stays outside and lets the baby get more worked up. And this, along with hyping the baby up before bedtime, this isn't complex parenting stuff. This isn't something that you need to be a teacher at a daycare to know, or have your own child to know, or anything. This is basic shit that you would know if you were in Nate's position. If you had your first child and you'd been with it for 3 months and you had been an active parent, you would know these things. And so to me, I want to ask you guys, I'm going to pose the question, do we think that Nate is doing all of this to make it be? Basically, he texted, Sutton saying, I might pass out. She still doesn't come home. And so now he's going, well, I really hate babysitting. How can I kind of make it so that I don't have to really do this anymore? So now he's going to make it so the baby doesn't get a nap. That's my opinion. I think that this is something that's manufactured so that Sutton doesn't want to leave her babies alone with him, and that she takes on the full responsibility of childcare.
And as you can hear, he's back at it. Today should be interesting. All right, Sutton's calling. Gotta give her the news. Hello, darling. Oh, just sitting here with me after his attempt at a nap.
What happened?
That was not good.
What happened?
He probably slept 30 minutes out of the 2 hours.
Why?
The first hour, he just cried and cried and cried. About 30 minutes in, I thought about it. I was like, did I change his diaper? And I didn't. So I went in there to check and it was full of crap. And so
That's so horrible.
Well, I changed his diaper, and then I thought that was going to fix it, and it didn't. So
after you hype up your baby and then leave them alone in a room when they're only 3 months old in their own shit for an hour to scream cry the entire time, now they're really worked up, and now you need to rock them and feed them, or rock them and sit with them. They're not just going to go back to sleep in their own crib at this point, okay? They're not. Maybe in a miracle, but again, it just feels purposeful. Anyone with even a minimal amount of experience with children would know these things. And so it concerns me that he's doing them, because it feels like he is, if these were genuine accidents and he was trying to learn, I wouldn't say that it's abusive, but it feels like he's almost being neglectful here intentionally to create this situation, this emergency situation, to show Sutton and be like, look what happens when you leave. Look what happens when you go out. Look at how bad things are with the kids when you're not here. And that's really not fair to Sutton.
So he still cried for another 30 minutes, and then he went to sleep for about a half an hour, and then he cried the last 30 minutes. I don't know what happened. He was doing so good, and then he woke up from his nap, and he's so sensitive. It's like he keeps looking at me and is hoping I'm Sutton. And then when he realizes I'm not Sutton, he starts crying. It's okay, I promise.
It's okay.
I almost gave up there for a minute. He would not stop crying. I tried pulling out all the tricks. I gave him all his toys, walked him around.
He's your son, not a dog.
Well, I wanted to say I could make a whole day watching this little guy, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Sutton's mom, she's so generous, she offered to come and watch him while I go play some tennis with LA, Sutton's dad. And I'm just gonna have to take up the offer because I think he doesn't want to see me anymore.
Nate, the spiritual leader of their household, couldn't make it for one day, not a 24-hour period, but just a work day, alone with the child. It got so bad that Sutton had to call her own parents. I would be so humiliated if I had to call my parents to come help me with my children because my husband couldn't handle it. Once again, definitely would not have more children with that person, and you know, these are early videos, and I say this about Paul and Morgan a lot, but I'm going to say it about Nate and Sutton a lot too, which is that I don't see how when they're editing these videos, they don't see how upsetting it is. They don't see how blatant the issues are, and I wonder if they really don't see it for themselves, or if maybe Nate has been so good at kind of, you know, gaslighting Sutton that he thinks that he can also pull it over on the audience as well, but it couldn't be more clear or more upsetting watching these clips.
It might be really difficult being at the beach with a baby. You know, and me and Sutton used to come to the beach, we would just hang out, and now we
Take naps,
and now we got like this to take care of. Okay, can we just relax?
Despite all of this, they got pregnant again with another son.
What's this? But what are you talking about? Are you joking me?
we're having another baby.
Are you kidding me? What? No.
Yes.
This is not for real.
Yes. Look.
What? No, are you serious? That is crazy.
Okay.
You got me.
Oh, okay, scared you.
Is this for real? Are you pranking me?
Oh, Mira, it's okay.
Yay.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, you don't want to share? You don't want to share these people?
It's not good news. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
that
Wow,
not just blow
that's
your
crazy. How is that possible? I'm crazy.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you wanna hold this?
I feel like my mind is blown right now. You're really like, this is for real?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What? No! Are you... Alright guys, so tonight could be the night. Sutton just woke me up shortly after we went to sleep having some serious stomach pain. And so we called the midwife. She told us for her to take a bath and see if that alleviates some of the pain and the contractions, and they've been painful and consistent. And it wouldn't surprise me if we go to the hospital tonight. You okay? We're almost inside. We're almost there. You're not able to walk through it. Let's go.
What's going on, baby girl?
Yeah, she's having some painful ones.
What time did your water break?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Is it a boy or a girl?
A boy.
A boy day. It's gonna be a boy day.
Okay, son.
Oh, baby.
Second.
Second?
Yeah.
Oh, good. This might be come fast.
Okay, son.
Baby, sweetheart, you got this.
How long does it take to get an epidural?
Past that point. No, don't.
Past? Oh, is there any way? That's like. There's no way to get it.
I don't think she was tired. Baby's sitting right there. We're talking about maybe a few minutes.
In a few minutes.
They released nearly an hour-long video about that birth that is full of screaming audio. I completely respect the beauty of birth and all of that, but oh my god, what a horrific audio to release. I really feel for Sutton in those moments. It's not horrific in that they necessarily shouldn't have released it. It's just horrific in the pain that she had to go through unwillingly, essentially, because she really did not intend to do an unmedicated birth. I do wonder if they hadn't taken this advice of the midwife, and I don't know why they had a midwife in the first place, but why they called her instead of going into the doctor to talk to them about how far along she was, especially because her other pregnancy, there were some hiccups there. They didn't do any of that, and unfortunately this is the way that it went. But it made me think, okay, they're probably not going to want to have more kids, because that was really scary for Sutton. It was really hard, and already Nate hasn't been an active father to their one child, now two. But almost immediately after the birth of their second child, they announced their third pregnancy with another boy.
I'm so early. All right, are you ready?
I'm nervous. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's there. See it? See it?
It's there.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
It's there, clear as day. Yay!
You're telling me not to do this thing where I question it, but
Thank God for that. I'll just celebrate on my own. We're having a baby! It's hard to be excited alone.
what do you mean alone?
Like to have you always doing the and then I just have to be excited.
Just for all of you out there to see what I'm seeing.
Right there. Plain as it can be.
It's just hard to believe.
Isn't it always?
All right, guys, you won't believe it. We are pregnant.
Despite them actively planning these pregnancies and the fact that Nate clearly doesn't enjoy being a father, he still doesn't acclimate to the crying, and he still complains a lot about the kids.
Here we go. We got everybody in the car.
We are on our way. 6 hours of packing later.
And here we are.
And there he goes. Hey guys, we finally made it here last night after a long, tiring drive.
I was driving. He was over there.
No way. We took turns.
This makes the 5th day being late for my period, and I know you guys are probably thinking like, oh my gosh, why do you think you're probably pregnant? But, you know, I just had him. He's only 4 months old, and I've only had 1 period since having him. So I just feel like my period's not regulated yet, and I did take a test at home 2 days ago before he left, and it was negative. It looked like a solid negative. How do you feel about this? Like, if it's positive, what are you gonna think? If it's negative, what are you gonna think?
Well, I am just praying that it's negative because we just had a baby. Yeah, lately I've kind of been feeling at my full capacity with baby tolerance, and
He just said last night, I don't know if I can have another one.
right, she peed on the stick, and now my life is flashing before my
He's
eyes.
just sitting here like staring out the window, and I was like, "Is your life flashing before your eyes?"
I'm just thinking all that it would entail if we had another pregnancy right now. I don't even know.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Oh, hallelujah.
I got the nice and clear one for him.
Thanks.
Not pregnant.
Thank you, God.
But shortly after this, they announced their 4th pregnancy. I'm not going to show you guys any more pregnancy announcements or birth videos, but I am going to show you this short clip of Nate and Sutton talking a little bit more about parenting and about how it has affected their marriage from Nate's point of view. You tell me yourselves in the comments if you think that he seems to be happy about fatherhood or about the concept of having another child, because this was before they announced their 4th pregnancy with their 4th son.
Like, you know, you always hear the saying, you're as strong as your weakest link. But I feel like our family is only as strong as our marriage. You know, so if we have more and more kids, and like I'm seeing that the more kids we're having, we tend to drift apart, then that to me is a big X on another kid. You know, because like that's how I feel. Our family's only going to be as strong as our marriage.
It's this pent-up aggression that almost is covered with this sweet Christianity, this keep sweet, pray and obey vibe, this you know, like him saying freaking or stinking. They say stinking. Oh, he just won't stinking stop crying. But it's just these little moments of aggression, these moments that seem to be intentionally putting Sutton down, intentionally making, you know, decisions that it's clear are the wrong decisions, like buying this bigger house. I feel like it's clear from their video before purchasing the house that not the right move, and then for him to undo that and once again uproot the kids. Now they're finding land to move somewhere else, and it just, you know, it does just make me, it makes my heart hurt for Sutton and for the family a little bit. And I hate to keep, you know, making comparisons to Paul and Morgan, but it does feel like at least Paul and Morgan maybe does actually stand up for herself a little bit more, and she maybe does have a little bit more of a voice. And I think the other thing is that Morgan and Paul only have 2 kids, whereas Sutton and Nate have 4. And so you really see the division of labor much more clearly, and you see Nate's attitude much more clearly. And I think also with Paul and Morgan, you see moments with Paul, with him playing with his kids, where he still does seem like he's focused on himself. But I wouldn't say that they're, you know, I do believe that Paul and Morgan both probably do love their kids. Whereas with Nate and Sutton, it just feels like there's something else there. There's something else in the room with us. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel safe to me, though, and it actually does concern me for all of their safety, at the very least emotionally, their emotional safety living in a home with a man who clearly has a lot of pent-up emotion, a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger, and also just having a bunch of babies, you know, basically 4 kids under the age of 5 or 6 and who are still in the crying phase. You're going to have a lot of crying happening around then. And so, yeah, if you can't stand a crying baby, I think that is a good indicator that you should just reconsider maybe parenting, because that is going to be a big part of it, and that should be your expectation. Because especially, I mean, if you get a baby that has colic or some other kind of health issue or struggles with eating or just whatever it is, if you get a kid that has any kind of complication, it's going to make it even harder, and there's going to be even more crying. So if it's difficult when you have a stay-at-home wife who is dedicated to 100% of the child care, and you can go, you know, fuck off and do whatever you want, if that's already too much for you, I just would encourage you to maybe look at your family planning, your family plan.
In January, I took them out and started homeschooling them, and that's been a real blessing, getting a lot more time with them. And we're still trying, you know, we're still figuring it out. It's a work in progress, but it's fun, and I think they enjoy it, and I just love the freedom. People tell me that homeschooling is like too hard, but I'm like, honestly, it's easier than getting them up and getting them dressed and packing their lunch and taking them to school and picking them up from school and remembering all the things they have to do at school.
And all the homework.
And the homework. Yeah, they were having homework at like 4 years old. So I'm just like, I love just, we take an hour, we knock it out.
Throughout all of this, it seems like Nate and Sutton become more and more conservative, Oakland, for example, started out going to preschool, but now that they had 4 children, they decided to pull them from school and have her homeschool them. She's also a stay-at-home mom now while he works, and they sold the company, the family photography business that was making 6 figures a year. So they've really changed their dynamic as a family at the leading of Nate. Before we get into their next era, the homelessness era, yes, their homelessness era, I do have to show you this final clip of Nate holding their infant newborn son like a bag of flour and almost breaking his neck. It makes me sick to watch.
Sound.
Yeah, not a sound. I mean, I'm talking like every night. Quickly, Nate and Sutton said that they were outgrowing their home as they were growing their family, and despite living in a very nice, very large house already, they made a video talking about moving and the stress that Nate was under. A lot of excitement, but it's also brought up some fears. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that today because I feel like what is such an exciting time, and it is, Satan will try to come in and steal it. He's going to try to steal that excitement, steal the joy out of it. And the way he's trying to do that through me, or take it from me, is by filling me with fear and doubts. This is such a big move for us. And I've just been having fears like the U.S. is heading in a recession, which is news that's been coming out lately. And it's like, are we buying a house at the wrong time? And are we going to be able to make the payments and all of that stuff? All these fears that come up with that. But then I was praying yesterday and God just rained down his wisdom like he always does. And he was basically telling me that it's not about your circumstances. It's not about if you're prospering or you're abundant or you're wealthy. And it's not about if you're poor and you're in poverty and you're living on the streets. Either way should be okay. And to have your hands just loosely, we talked about this, just to have open hands and to have such a loose grip on this world. No matter what happens, that you should be okay with it because you know that God is going to work everything for our good. The point that I wanted to make is that I'm okay either way. No matter what happens, whether our future, everything works out like we hope it to, or if we have to go bankrupt and living on the streets. One might be more difficult than the other, but it's okay because I feel like as long as we are listening to God's voice and going in the direction that we feel like he's wanting us to and being led by him, which we feel like we've been led so far, don't you think?
Yeah.
Points by Nate definitely concerned me. Asking questions like, can I pay the mortgage, is not the type of question you should be asking yourself before purchasing a home. And right away I was asking, why are they buying it then? I totally understand the mountain of pressure that financial stress can bring onto somebody, but it seemed like it was doomed from the start from the way that they talked about it, but they proceeded with it anyway.
Just moved into this house, which we're so thankful for. But it came along with so much spiritual warfare and attacks from Satan that it almost became, I almost want to say it was comical, but it wasn't comical because it's never funny when you're being attacked by Satan. The last couple of weeks, as you guys know, me and Sutton and the boys were left homeless. We were without a house for a week. We sold our house, and the very next day we were supposed to move in this one, but due to all kind of craziness and attacks, there was a delay in closing, and so we were homeless for a week. Had nothing, we were homeless, and things were getting gnarly. And attacks from left and right, boom, 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 boom. We are in a war. I mean, if that's news to you, then you need to wake up because we are in a spiritual war every day. If you are a human being, there's someone out there called Satan who is attacking you, who is coming after you. And it's kind of like going on a battlefield without any sort of armor, without any sort of way to defend yourself. You're gonna be toast in a matter of minutes, So what I'm getting at here is that we need to armor up. If you are dealing with some kind of spiritual warfare, if it's obvious to you that you are being attacked, it's obvious that the enemy's coming after you, then you need to armor up. And that is the time to pray. That is the time to be in the Word. Do you feel like the enemy's coming after you? Armor up, get in the Word, soak in that nourishment. Really, don't just read it, but soak it in and meditate on it. And
this video received a lot of backlash for obvious reasons. Nate shares that they became homeless after warning in their initial video that even if they were homeless, they would, be okay, and they would be, and it was obvious that he was using dramatic language, but suddenly in their next video, now he's claiming homelessness, which truly they were just in between homes, always had somewhere to stay, not that serious, but he treats it like a true homelessness experience, and that really offended a lot of people who had gone through true poverty. It seemed really out of touch given that they lived in a mansion and had just moved from an also very nice place, and the place that they stayed in the meantime, or the hotel, was probably nicer than most of the places that you or I have lived in. One of their next videos was Nate and Sutton sharing that they were going to be selling their dream house to downsize again.
That was just such a learning, an education, to go through that experience of buying a home that we thought was a dream house, like something that we always wanted, and then you get there and you realize that yes, it's nice, but at what cost? At the cost of that burden of a payment, like how much a house like that costs and what that does to you spiritually, how much you have to work to upkeep that payments. And now we sold it because I feel like over the past year, God has really showed me the power of debt and the spiritual implications that has on a person, and getting out of debt completely. And now we're fortunate enough to be able to buy a home that, yes, it's a big step down as far as the size and all of that as what we had before.
But a big step up in quality of life.
Yeah, in quality of life, because for the first time ever, we do not have payments, which is something I'm so thankful for. I think working is great. I love working hard, but the amount is just where I think I had it really mixed up for a while.
No shocker there from the other videos and all of that, but I couldn't help but notice that Nate's last video was completely talking about spiritual warfare and trying to make it seem like God had actually directed them this way, when I think that the groundwork was clearly laid early on. They instead tried to say that this was a big spiritual lesson that they needed to learn about the weight of debt, and that they would be living differently from now on, which that's up to them, but it certainly was one of their biggest controversies during their YouTube career, because they have truly not seemed to struggle a day in their life with at least anything in this realm. It seems like they're fighting a lot of spiritual battles that nobody can see, but they're definitely not fighting any battles here on Earth. The most baffling part about all of this are the moral standards that Nate and Sutton say that they have, because the way that they treat each other, the way that Nate treats the children, the way that they talk about things, all of that is not great from an observer's view, right? Can we agree on that? But as we look at some of their very strong moral opinions, it's clear that their faith is very important to them, and this is the bulk of their content. They are Christian content creators, an influencer couple after all. This is what they do. And so when you look at their moral standards, it becomes even more confusing who these people really are, because they're certainly not living it out in the way that they parent their children or the way that Nate leads their family.
Another very commonly asked question was, what is a good age to get married? Or like, is this age too young? Is this age too young? My personal answer is there's no such thing as too young. Like, if you're ready and you know that this is the right person for you, and you guys are in a good place in your life, with money and stuff, and you feel like you're able to start your family, then why the heck not?
You think even if they're like 18?
My grandparents got married at 13, and they were together their whole lives.
13?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm not suggesting that, though. That was different times, but
wow.
I do think that's very cute.
Nothing about that is cute to me. Your grandparents were victims, and to them, I'm so sorry. It's hard for me to watch stuff like this and agree with it. I recognize that they're Christian. I recognize that they are extremely conservative, but child marriage is definitely not something that anybody should be suggesting, especially if you're talking about somebody who is 13 years old, and their controversial opinions and just bad takes overall that they claim are biblical but don't match with the Bible, same as their, the way that they live. They continue with them. They continue posting them and offering it up as advice for their subscribers.
Sexual boundaries, I would say, yes, you can have them if you want to. Like if there's something sexual that you're not comfortable with or you don't want to do, I think you have the freedom to say, I don't want to do that. And if your husband is, loving you like Christ loves the church and leading and stuff, he would be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. What's the verse about your body's my body, my body's your body? Yeah. I mean, I think there's certain things, like if you say to your husband, I don't want to have sex anymore, then I think that's not okay. Because God gave us the gift of sex and you're like depriving one another.
If your husband is leading you like Christ leads and loves the church is a big if. And his immediate follow-up comment, bringing up the Bible verse that talks about your body belonging to your spouse and vice versa, that is him clearly stating that he does not believe that you should be allowed to have sexual boundaries within marriage, which is disgusting and disturbing. As you finish that clip up, you can see what I'm talking about here, where though they are Christian influencers, they're definitely advocating for things that are not biblical, or if they are, they're the worst parts of the Bible and are advocating for things like marital rape. I genuinely am concerned about Sutton. I'm concerned about the kids, and I almost want to say even more so than Paul and Morgan, which is really saying something. This is a channel that I just found. I wasn't super aware of them before this, and so all of this came as a really big shock to me, and I am very surprised that Paul and Morgan are getting picked on more than Nate and Sutton, and I'm one of the people picking on them, so I'm, not saying that with any kind of weird, connotation to it. But Nate and Sutton are just, to me, objectively so much worse, and I'm afraid of Nate, personally. Like, that is a man that scares me.
What do you do if one of your kids came out as bisexual, gay, or trans?
Never really thought about that, but I know that I would love them. Like, I think you love them through that, and you don't support it because, that's not what we believe in. So I wouldn't support their actions, but I would still, of course, love them and try to help them through that.
Yeah, I would love them for sure. It wouldn't change my love for them at all, but I would also, I feel like I'd be in the fight with them because I know it would be very tempting to act on their desires. And I would fight with them to resist the temptation to live in sin.
Nothing about that is loving or supportive. Actively saying that you would fight with your child if they came out as trans or bisexual or queer in any form is just not loving, and it's not going to foster a healthy, good relationship with your child, nor is this backed by the Bible. If you guys have questions about this, I highly recommend Pastor Brendan Robertson, who is a queer pastor who does great sermons on these topics. But already, it's like the typical, we would of course still love them, but then they're describing love that is not an action, is not outwards, it's only just how they maybe feel on the inside deep down, but they need to hide that because otherwise then they're enabling. And that is something that's really hurtful and it's really harmful. And next we talk about something that is controversial as well, which is porn. Nate does tell us that he struggled with porn addiction, which we'll get into in this video.
For those of you who don't know, so me and Sutton, in our early dating stages, we basically started talking about porn, and she was asking me if I've ever watched it, and I had to tell her that I have, and that I actually was pretty recently, and this was many years ago, and in that moment, it was like I could see, it just broke her heart, right? Is that what you would say?
Yeah, because for me, I had never experienced anything like that, so I just didn't understand the struggle. And I also had, I asked him and he told me,
So I think it was hurtful in that way too. But this was like probably like the 5th time we hung out. I mean, we were getting deep conversations pretty quick.
It was something that I've always been so ashamed of. Like, I knew it was wrong, but it was like an addiction that I couldn't break. And it wasn't until Sutton, when I saw what it did to her, like how much it just hurt her, knowing that that was something that I've done and that I did and that I do, that is what did it for me.
I just feel like it's such an addiction that even if I don't understand it, it is. And so I think we would have tried to work through it. You see someone in a bikini, or girls, if you see a guy in a bathing suit, is it when it's late at night and you're scrolling through the channels on the TV and you see something you're not supposed to see? Is it when your spouse is asleep and you walk off on your own? You know, what is it for you? And whatever it is, be wise enough to stay out of that situation.
I've made an entire video on this topic and the fact that porn is not recognized as an addiction by any reputable body, okay? The studies that have been done on this that say that it's an addiction or use that language are not done, like the DSM doesn't have porn addiction in it, for example, right? I'm not saying that there isn't something there. I'm not saying it's not habit forming. I'm not saying it's not harmful. I'm not saying that people might not use it compulsively as a coping mechanism. What I am saying is that addiction is the wrong word, because when we talk about addiction to drugs, the drugs genuinely change what is happening in that person's brain, and more so than just a dopamine rush, which is what people are getting when they're watching porn. This is actually acting on their brain, and it's a disease. When people talk about porn addiction, they talk about using porn in a habitual way or a compulsive way, but then they slap addiction on it to basically get out of having to take accountability, which is not what actual addicts do. Actual addicts, when they go through treatment or acknowledge an addiction, they try to take accountability. They try to make up for mistakes that they've had. But these people in the church that claim addiction when it comes to porn are co-opting this label in a very harmful and negative way to try to basically say, well, I didn't really have control. My brain got rewired. My brain worked in a different way. At the end of the day, you are fully control over your own behavior, especially when you aren't introducing substances. Your own naturally provided dopamine in your brain, it's not the same thing as being on meth, and you are able to seek help and get, help for that. But people like him, they claim addiction and then they don't go to counseling for it. They don't actually get any treatment for it. They just get Christian mentors, which again, when we talk about addiction rates and success when addicts go into a rehab center, the success rates are very, very low. It's like 10 to 15% maybe at a really good rehab. And so it just is frustrating to hear people co-opt this language. And to me, they should be ashamed of themselves when they use it in this context, because the people that use it in this way, this isn't a label that's been thrust upon them where they're shameful. He's clearly almost giddy about this. He's happy about this, talking about what he did, and he's clearly not sorry about it. He clearly doesn't feel bad about it. And I'm not saying that he necessarily has to, but I am saying that he is being dishonest with Sutton and implying that he is. He, with the, the porn girls on Facebook, red flag. There are multiple red flags for cheating. This is just yet another red flag where I have to say, I don't know, but I don't trust Nate, and I think that Nate is lying. I do not think that Nate hasn't watched porn since the last time that he told Sutton he has.
So the number one reason that we wanted to save ourselves from marriage was to obey God, because we really, because how do you expect to be blessed in that area of your life if you aren't obeying God? So that was really the number one reason for both of us, right? I mean, that was my reason.
Yeah, that was my number one. I have a lot of reasons, but that was the first one, I'd say. If you are dating someone and you do decide to have sex with them, it's like tying you to that person in a way that you can never get back. You can never take it back.
There's something about being intimate with someone in that way that you really become like tied to that person spiritually. And especially it seems to be this way for girls, that they're just so much more attached.
Another reason it's special is because by saving yourself for one person, you literally have nothing else to compare them to. Like, you're not gonna have to do that in your head.
You're not going to have thoughts in your mind of past experiences and thinking like, oh, well, she did this or he did this and now this person doesn't do this, or vice versa.
This is another area of controversy because it feeds directly into purity culture narratives where people are told that God won't bless their sex life in marriage if they have premarital sex. Nowhere does it say this in the Bible. That's just not true. They also talk about things like soul ties, which are also not ever mentioned in the Bible, not biblical, and not real. They bring up a lot of things that put shame onto people who have had premarital sex, places a lot of worth on virginity, and places unrealistic expectations of what a sex life in marriage is going to be like. The reality is, just as many Christians have shitty sex lives or sex lives that are impacted by porn addiction, or I'm not trying to be offensive, but you guys get what I'm saying. I'm talking about specifically this Christian porn addiction that's not porn addiction. Also because it's not recognized as a clinical thing right now. But research to come as soon as the DSM adds it, I will let you guys know. But this just becomes even more offensive because they just repackage purity culture in a new way and try to sell it to their audience. And yeah, they're entitled to that, but that doesn't mean that we have to like it. Before we wrap up, I do want to show you guys that the commentary has affected them in some ways, and they've had multiple bouts of reconsidering if they're going to be on YouTube. Here's one clip of that.
Hate for like the last 10 years, and it's something that, you know, has not really ever bothered me that much, but it kind of got to the point lately where, you know, Sutton's waking up every day to all these endless amounts of messages, people telling her to leave me, and what a horrible abusive...
Not that it affects me at all.
Yeah, but like what a horrible abusive husband that I am, and all these things, and I'm just like, I don't know if that's the best thing for our marriage, for Sutton to be waking up to that. And then I think about our kids, like growing up, you know, do I really want them seeing that everyone on the internet thinks their dad is like some horrible parent dad, and then who knows what they're going to start saying about them.
My intention is certainly not to run anybody off of YouTube, but when I saw them over the last 2 weeks as I've been diving into them and researching them, I just get more concerned in a very different way than Paul and Morgan about safety and things like that. I don't want to come in too harsh. I don't know these people personally, obviously, but I'm going to show you guys one more clip that just kind of exemplifies some of the problems that I have noted in their videos.
I never even knew it was a thing for guys to pee on the floor until I married you. Or is it just you?
When I go to the bathroom, sometimes I may miss. Sometimes you make mistakes, especially in the middle of the night when you can't really see what you're doing. So now I sit. I can't believe I sit on a stinking toilet to pee.
Thank you guys so much for watching my video today. If you made it this far, please hit like, subscribe, or double check to make sure that you're subscribed already. Hit share and copy link. You don't have to send it anywhere, I promise, but it helps way more than you think that it does. And if you want to leave a comment but you don't know what to say, you can always leave a bird or a dove down below. If you want to support me even further, you can always become a member to my channel. You'll get access to these videos a little bit sooner than everybody else, and you'll also get priority responses to comments and private polling, and just you'll be a bigger part of the hive mind that kind of helps inform the direction of this channel. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.